When two high-level fighters rematch, how long ago is too long to matter? Does it matter that at the time of the first meeting, one of the fighters was very inexperienced and the other was extremely inexperienced? Is 5 years too long? Is 10 years too long? Does it matter that a matchup of fighters who would become known as great strikers actually turned into more of a ground battle? All those questions and more will be answered when Corey Sandhagen and Mario Bautista meet in the feature of UFC 329.
Dude, I know you so well. I said, there's no way he's talking about the main event.
Welcome to the Shillin' and Duffy preview for UFC 329, McGregor versus Holloway 2. It goes down this Saturday, July 11th at T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas. I'm your host, Ben Duffy of SureDog.com. With me, as usual, is Keith Shillin, the executive producer of the SureDog Radio Network. Keith, how the heck are you today?
I'm doing good, man. Obviously, we just had 4th of July, so happy Independence Day to all our fellow Americans. 250 years, so it was a big one. 250 years is also the last time Conor McGregor won a fight, so yeah, it's all full circle. But how you doing, man?
I am doing really well. This card, UFC 329, like obviously it is headlined by a fighter who, at least at his peak, was probably the biggest star this sport has ever produced, against a fighter who is at least on the Mount Rushmore of the most universally beloved fighters in MMA history. South of that, give me your general thoughts on this card. Give it a letter grade on paper.
It's tough. It's a really tough one to grade because it's like the anomaly. You know, when I think of, if you told me give a card a grade without a title fight, I would really struggle to give it an A. But Conor's always the sideshow. He's always the, you know, like he's the one. I have friends messaging me like I was having a cookout and a teenage boy first thing about, what do you think of the Conor McGregor fight? And I did give him my prediction. It's deep. Like, I was looking at my fast pass pick this week and I struggled to find which fight I was going to fast pass, and that's always a good sign. So I'm actually going to give it an A. I'm not going to give it an A plus. I feel like it needed a title fight. Now, I know it's always weird. Like, how do you put? You're never going to put Conor McGregor in a co-main event. Right. You know, not since Chad Mendes, that fight that could happen. And really, we go back to the Chad Mendes fight. That was a co-main event, but it really was the main event. No, wait a minute. It was the main event. I'm sorry. It was the main event over a title fight. Yeah, so I'm mixing it up. Yeah. I'm sorry. I'm mixing it up. That was Robbie Lawler and Roy McDonald. That classic fight. I don't know when the last time Conor was a co-main. I think it was actually his first fight, maybe when he fought Poirier. But my point is, like, at this point, he's never going to be the co-main event unless he's completely washed to the point where he's lost 5-6 in a row and no one cares about him anymore.
And the UFC wouldn't give him the purse he requires if he'd fallen that far, and they can't put him as a headliner.
That's true too. Yeah, that's a good point. And on the flip side, like, there's certain champions that it'd be very hard to justify putting under a non-title fight. But if they just gave me one of those lesser championship bouts, and I don't mean them lesser in talent, but I mean attraction. Like, yeah, if you gave me a female fight, you gave me Mackenzie Dern versus Jillian Robertson, instead of putting that on, what they do, I think they did on the Philly card, put on this card, I'm probably giving this an A plus.
I like this card right up through the co-main event. I'm going to get this off my chest right now. I am not comfortable with Conor McGregor fighting. And I considered putting together a laundry list of the things that he has done since the last time he fought in MMA and since the last time he won in MMA. It would have had humor value, but the list starts and ends with being found civilly liable for an absolutely horrific sexual assault. And to anyone, just let me get this out, to anyone right now who's like, well, he wasn't convicted of anything, blah, blah, blah. That is exactly the case with O.J. Simpson. I don't think there's a living human on the planet that doesn't think O.J. Simpson.
Okay, I haven't followed the Conor case as well as the OJ one, but damn, the friggin' the one thing I will say about that is to take a case, a capital murder case, you have to go through grand jury. There's more of a process than just being civil. But I understand. I understand what you're saying. The guilty verdict for OJ was the same.
Yeah.
Well, I will say this: so much stuff has happened with Conor, it kind of became white noise to me. Like, which is sad. Like he's done so many shitty things. I like, or been accused of shitty things that I'm like, the same thing happens to me with John Jones sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Like the last John Jones like road rage incident, I'm just like, okay, like just
outrage fatigue. Yeah,
yeah. That's true. Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good way to say it. This is a weird fight. I was at the very first Conor McGregor versus Max Holloway fight in Boston. What was it? 10 years ago?
2013. It was 13 years ago next month.
It was a prelim fight, and I've used this example when people talk about like, oh, I'm not gonna watch the prelims. I'm like, Conor McGregor fought in the prelims before. John Jones fought in the prelims. And I say this, and I'm like, I'll give you a perfect example. I was there when Conor McGregor and Max Holloway fought in the prelims, and I said if they have a rematch, they would headline a pay-per-view. Well, here you go.
Gable Steveson is fighting on the prelims of this card.
As he should.
As he should, but if Gable Steveson is UFC heavyweight champion 3 years from now, I'm not shocked. I'm also not shocked if he's out of the sport entirely. We'll get to that when we get to it. But if you don't watch the prelims, you should probably just be one of those casual fans that restricts yourselves to watching 5 or 6 events a year. And I'm not even saying that dismissively, because if I didn't do this for a living, I'd probably be that fan right now.
Yeah, and this isn't the show where like, people who watch the show it's very rare for them to not watch the prelims. So,
Dude, Farid Basharat is a top 10 bantamweight, and he's fighting third from the bottom of this card. Like, watch the prelims, people.
There you go.
Yeah. Because of just my personal discomfort with this card headlined by McGregor and my suspicion that the actual product we get in the cage might not live up to the billing, I'm going to give this card a B.
Okay.
But again, south of the main event, if you took away the McGregor-Holloway fight and just put 2 title fights at the top, even if they weren't the sexiest title fights, this is an A+. Like if Saint-Denis versus Pimblett was third from the top and there were 2 title fights above it, this would be an A+ for me.
Yeah, I get that, and I'll pull back the card a little bit. When we do our recap show, during the show, I'll usually text Ben and I'll say like, "Hey, let's match make," and I'll insert, 5, 6 guys.
Yeah,
this is one I might be like, let's just match make the entire card, or every winner and then the losers of these matchups, and that is because there's so many people I'm interested in how they move forward. I think that's probably why I have a higher grade than normal.
I can't disagree with that. I'm so excited for so many fights on this undercard in particular, and then the 5-fight main card is sensational. Which individual fight are you most excited for?
That's a good question. I might look at. It's gonna be so shitty of me to just go with my usual flyweight fight and say Royval and Kavanaugh, but that's the one that's like screaming at me. Obviously, I'm always excited for Pinas against Almeida. That's a good one. I'm actually somehow surprisingly excited for Bobby Green and Terrance McKinney.
Oh, I'm excited for it as well.
So I give you 3.
Beautiful. I agree with all those. And even though I have the feeling that we know what we're going to see, I'm here to see it. I want to see Gable Stevenson's UFC debut. Yeah.
Yeah, if people think I had a love affair with Bo Nickel, you ain't seen anything yet. Like I'm going to be the biggest fanboy of Gable Steveson imaginable.
Any other general thoughts on this one before we jump in?
No, yeah, let's go with this big card. Let's get into these fights.
All right. First up at UFC 329 is a men's flyweight matchup between Cody Durden and Alessandro Costa. Durden, the 35-year-old Georgia native, is 18-10-1 overall. He is 6-8-1 in the UFC. He's coming in off a win. He fought most recently at UFC Fight Night Sterling versus Zalal back in April, where he picked up a unanimous decision over Jafel Filho. That snapped a 4-fight losing streak for him. He will look to build on that good momentum against Costa. 30-year-old Brazilian is 16-5 overall, 3-2 since joining the UFC as a veteran of Season 6 of Dana White's Contender Series. He is on a 2-fight win streak, comprising both of his appearances of this year so far. In fact, he fought most recently just a month ago at UFC Fight Night Muhammad versus Bonfim, where he knocked out Matt Schnell in the first round. So he's looking for a 3-fight win streak here, and he is favored to get it. Keith, take a guess at what the line is in favor of Alessandro Costa.
Minus 200.
It is bigger than that. He is minus 270. Durden plus 220 coming back. If this had been Cody Durden's last fight before I saw the Jafel Filho fight, I would have said, okay, that line makes sense. Just Durden coming into that fight, and we're just talking about back in April, he was on a 4-fight losing streak. He had lost 6 of his last 7. And they were mostly against good fighters. The problem was that he was looking increasingly shot and disinterested. He's always had an aggressive style that he took a lot of punishment while dishing out punishment. He's always been a guy that's been vulnerable to whatever sort of offense his opponent does best. He can be caught on the feet. He's very famously gotten caught in submissions in fights where he was otherwise doing fine. Yeah, going into the Filho fight, if that had been Costa, yeah, make Costa a minus 350 favorite for all I care. His win over Jafel Filho was encouraging to me because it's not just that he won. It's that, 1, Filho's a very good fighter, and 2, Durden looked revitalized. I'm not going to say he looked like he looked 5 years ago, but he was the fresher fighter late. He was winning grappling exchanges late, which, considering what a good grappler Filho is definitely a feather in his cap. That looked like a Cody Durden that I don't think he becomes a top 10 flyweight ever again, but one that could stick around for a while and maybe pick up a couple scalps. That makes this fight much more interesting to me than it otherwise would be. I still do favor Costa. He's well-rounded. I do think sometimes he struggles to be aggressive enough and really take over fights where he's the superior fighter or he has obvious routes to victory. But given 3 rounds, I think he's just going to have moments of bigger, better offense against Durden. If Durden comes right out and starts wrestling Costa and manages not to shoot into like a guillotine or dive right down into guard and get triangled, he can absolutely grind out a win here, kind of like he did against Filho, where he was really whooping Filho's ass late in the fight. But like I said, I'm not confident that Durden is really, really back. Costa is younger, fresher. And again, even if he's not always aggressive enough to make winning rounds easy for himself, I think he does at least pick up 2 rounds out of 3 against Durden here. Give me Costa by decision.
Yeah, I'm really surprised by that line based on how, good Durden was on his last fight. But that said, I really don't have a good read on Durden. I'm kind of feel very similar to you. Like, I'm not sure if he's good or not. He's a high output striker. He's constantly pressing the action, fairly quick hands. He works on a hard jab. He loves to get in the pocket and brawl where he throws big power shots in the pocket. The problem is he really telegraphs his shots. He loads up on a lot of his shots. He does. He connects. He has power. He's best when he's throwing first, slipping, and then countering. We saw that in his last fight. I like his counter right hand. He kicks hard. He actually checks leg kicks, which is rare. He's a good wrestler. I wouldn't say great, but he is relentless to get the takedowns. He chain wrestles together well. Not the best control though. But if he gets on top, he's going to be busy with the ground and pound. He can catch a submission, like he likes head attacks. He caught Matt Snell in that super slick ninja choke. He's a bad defensive wrestler. He will give up his back to get back up. Not the best submission defense he has. Like you mentioned, he has been subbed a lot in fights. But the biggest question I have is I'm worried about his durability. I mean, he's been hurt in a lot of fights. He's been knocked out a lot recently. And I don't think he's reacting well to strikes. Costa, I mean, the first thing to stand out is he's a short, stocky, jacked kind of guy. He likes to sit on the outside and suddenly burst forward with power shots. He lulls and then explodes. He is explosive. He attacks with combinations. He loves being in the pocket and throwing down. If we get that with Durden, that should be some really fun exchanges. He launches big hooks. He does try to end the fight like one big blow, so he also telegraphs his shots. But of the two, I think he hits harder. I like that he works the body. He crushed Stuart Nickel with a good body shot. He also likes some stepping knees. He throws some hard calf kicks. Go back to like the Kevin Bojas fight. He had a lot of success with that. He's a good wrestler. I don't think he's as good a wrestler as Durden is. He's more of like a BJJ grappler than wrestler. I don't have a very good read on this fight. Because I don't really have a good read on Durden. I mean, he's proven plenty of times to not go against him just because he's an underdog. That said, I don't trust his durability. I think the line should be closer, but I'm going to go with Costa. I'm going to say Durden's durability fails him. Give me Costa by, I'll say, second round knockout.
Next up on the UFC 329 prelims is a middleweight matchup between Ryan Gandra and Zach Reese. Gandra, the 31-year-old Brazilian, is 9-1 overall. He's 1-0 since joining the UFC out of Season 9 of Dana White's Contender Series. He made his debut in February at UFC Fight Night Moreno vs. Kavanaugh, where he knocked out Jose Medina in just 41 seconds. He will look to build on that momentum against Reese. 32-year-old Texan is 10-3 with one no contest overall. He is 4-3 with one no contest since joining the UFC out of Season 7 of the Contender Series. He is coming in off a split decision loss to Michel Pereira down here in Houston back in February. It was a split decision. It was a contentiously close one, but it goes down as a loss either way, so he's looking to bounce back from that. Keith, your favorite is minus 130, underdog plus 110. Who are they?
Gandra is the favorite.
You are correct. Ryan Gandra minus 130, Zach Reese plus 110. The problem with Ryan Gandra is there are a lot of problems with him, but the problem for me trying to scout him is that he's a 31-year-old guy who only has 10 career fights, and they've all been against really, really terrible fighters and or over in like 60 seconds. I still don't know what it looks like when Ryan Gandra fights somebody that can keep his hands up and move his head. I don't really know what it looks like when somebody who knows how to shoot a double leg tries to take him down. He's just been blowing through everybody. He looked great in knocking out Jose Medina in 41 seconds back in February, but Jose Medina was probably the worst fighter in the entire UFC at the time. There's just nothing to learn from that. Something that I do like about him, I mean, he does have big power, obviously. You'd look at his record, he's just got a ton of quick knockouts, and a lot of them are one-shot knockouts. He's not very technical as a striker, but he has a lot of variety. It's kind of interesting. Like, he doesn't throw a real clean punch with either hand, but he throws with both hands. He's got hard kicks, and I do like how he will mix in kicks right up the middle, like the usual inside-outside leg kicks and body kicks, but then he'll mix in. It's not even a teep. It's like a hard, almost like a karate class snap kick. And when he lands it on people, you can tell that it hurts. So I think at best, he probably tops out as just the middleweight version of the kind of welterweight action merchants that always seem to be knocking each other off, kind of outside the top 15. But it's going to be a lot of fun while it lasts. As I said when introducing this fight, I thought Reese should have beat Michel Pereira. I looked at MMA decisions. I think it was 4 media scorers for Pereira against 9 for Reese, and that didn't include me, so make it 10-4. And I know that you were one of the ones, Keith, that scored it for Reese. Reese has not stacked up to what I thought he was going to be when he joined the UFC. I thought he might be like the slightly down market Joe Pyfer. He's not that, but he is quite literally better than his UFC record looks. Like, he should have beaten Michel Pereira his last time out, and if he had, he'd probably be fighting a little farther up this card, maybe against somebody else. If he wants to win this fight, I think Reese needs to wrestle. His defense on the feet is too porous, and whatever his flaws may be, Gandra throws a lot of strikes very hard. He gives himself every chance to bring his best weapons into play against his opponent. That's why he's 9-1 right now, and he's on like a 7 or 8 fight win streak. If Reese hangs out on the feet, he's taller, he's longer, he may be a better technical striker, but he has lapses on defense. He has a lot of tall man bad habits, and Gandra will clock him if he hangs out on the feet too long. Because I'm not sure I trust Reese to do the smart thing, I'm picking Gandra by first round knockout. But again, if Reese wrestles early and often, I actually favor him in this fight. I'm just not sure he's going to do it. But yeah, give me Gandra by first round KO.
Yeah, this is one of the fights I thought about fast passing, but because they're kind of like fun, exciting guys, I decided not to. Reese, he's a really big guy for the weight class. He's long and lanky. He likes to fight at both stances. He does have good volume on the feet, good boxing. He throws a lot of combinations. He will overthrow his strikes, but he does hit hard. He has 5 TKOs. The problem is his defense. He stands tall. He pulls his head straight back. He drops his hands. He does have a big kicking game. He kicks the body hard. You mentioned that he should have a wrestling advantage. He will look for takedowns. He likes body lock takedowns, but I definitely wouldn't call him a wrestler by any means. He's a bad defensive wrestler. He has only 2 subs on his record, but he does move off his back pretty well. He also, one thing he does do, he likes to strike off his back, which I'm not a fan of. But he has got an armbar submission, but he also was brutally knocked out bad by Asmat Bakoyev because he was playing off his back. And yeah, I agree that he beat Michel Pereira, but even having a close fight with Michel Pereira at this point in the career is bad. And the reason why it was close is he really kind of gassed out in a fight that wasn't the highest pace fight. Gandra, he's very flat-footed, though he does still march down his foe. He throws big, wild shots, a lot of looping strikes. He will overextend and be open to countered. He, as you mentioned, obviously he does hit very hard. His defense is bad, though. He gets hit a lot. He needs to learn to tuck his chin. He's been hurt in a bunch of fights. He also doesn't. He's open to leg kicks with his size. He's very physically strong. He does have a judo background. He likes body lock takedowns, but he's gassed out in the past. So I'm not very high in either. I think both are kind of bad. I do think Reese has beaten the better fighters, though. I do agree that I think he'll have I think he should have an advantage on the ground, but I agree with you. I think he'll probably swing it out. I'm going to go the other way. I'm going to say Reese catches him. I'm going to say Reese actually wins. I'm going to say Reese lands something in the first round. Give me Reese by first round knockout.
All right. We have our first disagreement of the card, and let the record show that it is Keith picking the Texan and me. So I'm headed up to New England.
Yeah.
We head to the men's bantamweight division next for a matchup between Farid Basharat and late notice opponent John Garza. Basharat, the 28-year-old Afghani by way of London, is a perfect 15-0 as a professional. He is 6-0 since joining the UFC out of Season 6 of Dana White's Contender Series. He fought most recently back in February at UFC Fight Night Bautista versus Oliveira, where he won a split decision over John Matsumoto. He had been scheduled to take on Ethan Ewing on this card. Well, actually, he'd been scheduled to take on Ethan Ewing at UFC Vegas 116 3 weeks ago. That fight was bumped to this card. And then in the intervening 3 weeks, Ewing fell off the card for reasons that we still don't know. And it was just today or yesterday, as of when we're recording, that Garza got the call up from Fury Fighting Championship. So let's meet the man. 23-year-old fighting out of Dallas, Texas, is 6-1 as a professional. He fought in Fury back in January. It was a Fury 114, actually up in his hometown of Dallas. He won by a frankly brutal second round TKO, soccer kicks to the body on the ground, nasty stuff. That was good enough to get him the call here. Not good enough to get him favored to win. Keith, Farid Basharat is unsurprisingly your favorite. Take a guess at what the line is.
Yeah, I mean, Basharat's a legit guy taking on a newcomer. He's minus 750.
Believe it or not, it's not that bad. Basharat is minus 550, Garza plus 420. I remember vaguely when Farid Basharat was the less hyped Basharat brother. Like Javid was the older brother, but he was, physically a little bigger, and at least on the regional scene, he was more of a finisher. Like he had more of a highlight reel. So he got and he had a spectacular win on the Contender Series. So he had a little more hype, but he's fallen by the wayside. And Farid is now the one who's a top 10 fighter, undefeated, looking like at least a potential future title contender. But all the differences between him and Javid really, really reduce the upset potential here for Garza. Garza is a guy that I thought he probably was 12 to 18 months away from needing a call even up to the Contender Series. I would love to see him at like 10-1, getting a call up to the Contender Series next fall, maybe after winning the Fury Bantamweight Championship. That's a more realistic track for him because he has tools. He's fast hands, good power, throws a good variety of strikes, but he just hasn't fought. He hasn't fought anybody that can really take control of a fight. He hasn't fought anybody who knew how to wrestle well and wanted to wrestle him. It's all the question marks that might have hovered over someone like Adrian Yanez that we'll be talking about later, only multiplied greatly because he's just not fought anywhere near the level of competition. And Basharat being a little more conservative than his brother, a little more airtight, a little more willing to go to the ground and just be methodical. This is going to be, I don't know if it'll be a long night or a short night for Garza, but it's going to be a suffocating night. I've seen nothing out of Basharat that makes me think that Garza is going to catch him with something big on the feet. And I haven't seen anything from Basharat that makes me think once he starts taking Garza down, that Basharat's going to get tired first. So I have the feeling that Garza's going to kind of be in survival mode pretty early. Give me Basharat by second round submission. And I think he probably wins about every minute of the fight up until then.
Yeah, I mean, this is obviously a huge ask for a guy making his UFC debut who's also really young, going against a guy, Basharat Ethan Ewing is a really talented fighter, but you can make an argument that Basharat should be fighting top 10 guys, based on what he's done in the UFC, his record, everything.
Yeah, absolutely. Basharat is the UFC's number 10 men's bantamweight right now. He is Sherdog's. Let me take a look here real quick. Yeah, he's not quite in Sherdog's rankings yet, just because Sherdog's rankings also have a bunch of PFL guys. But yeah, he is a top 10, top 15 talent for sure.
Yeah. He's as you mentioned, he's the good Basharat brother. Even though this isn't like the Bond films where like one's really bad and one's really good, but he's well rounded. He's a very good striker. He fights out of both stances. He moves really well. He stays very relaxed and poised. He's a very technical striker, though he can kind of sometimes be a little too patient and not throw enough. But when he does, he's got quick hands. He's accurate. Not a lot of tells in the strikes. He fights behind a really good jab. He's good at sliding out of range and landing shots. He throws a lot of combinations. He's good at hand fighting and using it to kind of get around his opponent's attacks. I like that he works the body. He hits hard. He's got a big kicking game. He loves teep kicks. He throws a lot of calf kicks. For a technical striker, he doesn't have the most sound defense, though. He will drop his hands, keep his head on the center line, keep his chin high. He can even crash into the pocket offensively with his hands down. to his credit, he does check leg kicks. That's probably the best part of his defense. He's a very good wrestler. He's good at shooting and creating scrambles, which he usually wins those scrambles. If he also will like catch a kick and take it on that way. If he's on top, he's got a very good top game. He advances well on the ground. He has mean ground and pound. He is hard to take down, and if you do take him down, he has 6 submissions on his record. Garza, he's only 23 years old. I haven't seen too much film of him, and this was like thrown on me just today, right before we were about to do the show. But so I kind of scrambled last minute. But what I saw, I kind of liked. I mean, he's pretty fast on it, on the feet. He throws hard. He attacks with combinations. Got some nice zip on his shots. He's got his best punches. He's got a good straight right. He works the body well. He actually moves his head really well, which is nice. He's got some decent power, and he's only 23. He throws a lot of high kicks. He also go like flying knees. He can close the distance and get busy inside with good dirty boxing. Not a bad offensive wrestler. He's pretty good in scrambles. If he's on top, he's busy, good ground and pound, and he's pretty hard to take down. So I like Garza a lot. I agree that he probably needs a little more time on the regional scene. And then, I mean, this is not a guy you want to take on in a UFC debut. I mean, this is a massive step up in competition. It's just too much too soon. I expect Basharat to actually take him down, beat him up on the ground. I see Basharat winning by submission too. I'm going to say he does in the first round. Basharat by first round submission.
Next up at UFC 329 is a middleweight matchup between Damian Pinas and Cesar Almeida. Pinas, the 24-year-old Aruban, is 9-1 overall. He is 1-0 since joining the UFC out of Season 9 of Dana White's Contender Series. He made his debut back in February at UFC Fight Night Moreno versus Kavanaugh, knocking out Wesley Schultz in the first round. He will look to build on that momentum, build on his streak of 5 straight knockouts against Almeida. 38-year-old Brazilian is 7-2 overall. He is 3-2 since joining the UFC out of Season 7 of Dana White's Contender Series. He's coming in off a loss. He fought most recently back in December at UFC on ESPN Royval versus Kopp, where he dropped a unanimous decision to Cesar Almeida. That snapped a 2-fight win streak for him. He's going to look to get back in the win column here. He is not favored to get it done. Keith, take a guess at what the line is in favor of Damian Pinas.
Minus 250.
That's close enough for horseshoes. I've got him at minus 225, but there were definitely books out there that had him at minus 250. I have him at minus 225, Almeida plus 185. So in his debut, we found out that Pinas could hang with UFC level middleweights. But the question now is, can Pinas stand for 15 minutes with an elite kickboxer? Now, I don't think it's nuts to say that he can. Here's the thing. If Pinas can get past Almeida, then he's probably good until they run him into a serious dedicated wrestler or just a flat out top 10 fighter. And the line being greater than 2-1 in his favor indicates that the bettors at least feel that way. I'm not sure I do. Pinas has all the physical tools. Like, he's quite long, he is fast on his feet. He has fast hands, fast feet. He throws a full arsenal of, he's a good kickboxer. But even in his regional career, he could be taken down. And even when he wasn't taken down, could be kind of stymied by shorter fighters that threatened to take him down or just constantly wanted to crash the pocket and kind of put him on the back foot. Cesar Almeida he's frankly disappointed, at least compared to what the UFC wanted out of him. They wanted him to be the Alex Pereira to Alex Pereira, that he was to Israel Adesanya. That hasn't panned out. Almeida lost a fight or two right away. Pereira moved up to light heavyweight and then to heavyweight. So the rivalry never materialized. But Cesar Almeida is still a very, very good striker. I don't see anything that tells me that Damian Pinas should be a greater than 2-1 favorite over Almeida in a straight kickboxing match. I think Almeida is probably, I don't even think probably, I think Almeida is a harder hitter on a shot-for-shot basis. I think he's more defensively responsible than Pinas. I'm going with the upset here. There's always the possibility that Almeida at age 38, like almost 15 years older than Pinas, with a lifetime of high-level kickboxing behind him, even before his MMA career, that all of a sudden he looks slow, or all of a sudden he can't take a punch anymore. But even if he looks like the guy that lost to Cesar Oleksiejczuk in December, I think that guy slips some of Pinas's shots. I think he comes back with counters. I think he wins the footwork battle, and I think he outstrikes him. Give me Cesar Almeida by decision here, and what I guess is a fairly big upset.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very excited for this fight. I mean, Pinas. I mean, I think there's a step up in competition. I think. I mean, the UFC should have been trying to protect Pinas. That's very important to protect a young Pinas. Make sure they don't get in trouble too quickly. Yeah. 24 years old. I mean, obviously this guy's limited. The guy's a very big, massive middleweight. He's got fast hands. He does have good offensive technique. He keeps his punches tight. He hits very hard, and he hasn't reached his power years. He does need some help defensively. He eats some shots. He's not much of an offensive wrestler. His takedown defense has been bad so far. He struggles to get off the bottom if he is taken down. Mostly from the regional scene. Almeida, I mean, he's, you know what you get with this guy. He's a great kickboxer. Not the best volume, but he's a builder. His volume improves when he finds his opponent's tells. Not a lot of tells himself. Good vision, accurate. I mean, he's so accurate with his punches. He poked Io Pretoria in the eyes 4 times. He throws straight shots. He's got a great right hand. He can crack. He really steps into his shots. Keeps his base underneath him to land his shots. I like that he works the body. He doesn't move much. He's definitely a traditional, stand directly in front of you. Muay Thai kickboxer, moves his head kind of straight back. He's been tagged a bunch. I mean, go back to like Roman Kopylov hurting him. Even though he won by knockout, he was dropped by Abdul Razak Al Hassan early in that fight. He has some great calf kicks, though he will throw them without a setup. Doesn't have an offensive wrestling game. His we started his last fight. His defensive wrestling is horrendous. No get-up game. He'll look for guillotines to make it worse. But if he ends up on top, he's shown some good ground and pound. I'm glad that you are seeing this fight for Almeida, because I thought it was a very tough fight to pick. I mean, it's definitely a young lion versus old lion. Both great strikers. Pinas definitely more athletic, more upside at this point. Almeida's more technical. I think this fight should be a pick'em. I want to go young lion over old lion, especially because I don't really trust Almeida's chin. But this is a huge step up in competition. You said that you think Almeida hits harder than Pinas. I'm not sure about that. I mean, I think it's, do you want to get hit by a aluminum bat or a wooden bat? I mean, I don't want to get hit by either one of them.
I don't want to get hit by any kind of penis.
That's true. I'm going to go with you, man. I think the defense of Almeida, I think the experience of Almeida, I don't know what Pinas's cardio is like. I want to say we get a back and forth fight. The deeper the fight goes, the more I feel better about Almeida, which is weird taking the 38-year-old feeling better about his cardio, but I'm gonna say Almeida hurts Pinas a couple times. It's gonna be close, but give me Almeida by split decision.
All right, so 2 of us picking Almeida to take Pinas deep and win there. Women's flyweights take the cage next at UFC 329 as Tracy Cortez squares off against Wang. Cortez, the 32-year-old Arizonan, now training out of Mexico. 12-3 overall, 6-2 since joining the UFC out of Invicta Fighting Championships. She's coming in off a loss. She fought most recently at UFC 322 last November, where she got tapped out in the second round by Erin Blanchfield. So she's looking to get back in the win column here against Wang. 34-year-old from China is 9-1 overall. She's 5-1 in the UFC. She's on a 3-fight win streak. Fought most recently back in February at UFC Fight Night Bautista versus Oliveira, where she won a unanimous decision over Eduarda Mora. So looking to make it 4 in a row, looking to reassert herself as a potential title contender in this division. Keith, your favorite is -115, underdog +100. Who are they?
Tracy Cortez's favorite.
It's actually Wang Tong. She is -115, Tracy Cortez +100, but that has been bouncing back and forth as a near pick'em for a couple of weeks now. So who knows what it'll look like on Saturday. Give me your thoughts on this one. Who gets it done? What's the fight look like?
I think it's good matchmaking. I think at this point, like, Wang Tong deserves like a name but she got tough out. I mean, Tracy Cortez is definitely tough. The thing about Tracy Cortez is she's well-rounded, but you never see it all in a fight. Like, this time she looks really good as a striker, and she doesn't really wrestle much. And this time she just wrestles immediately, and you're like, she's not a good striker. She's not the best athlete. She's a little bit plodding, but she makes up for it with her volume. She works better in crisp jabs. She mixes in combinations well. She likes to be in that mid-range and throw big shots. She got some pretty good snap on her shots. I'd say she has plus power. But she does have a big kicking game. Though she will throw naked leg kicks. She does need to improve her striking defense. She does lack head movement. Plus, she will press the action so much that she walks into a lot of shots. She will close the distance and work in the clinch. I did say she's well-rounded, but I definitely think she's a better grappler. Good dirty boxing. She's a solid wrestler, solid entries. Though I've said this before. I've always thought her wrestling was a little overstated or just overrated, really. But she will win some scrambles if she gets to fight to the ground. That's where I like it better. Nice top game. She's a submission artist. She likes guillotines and barrow chokes. Her takedown defense has been inconsistent. I mean, it was great against Jasmine Jasovich, who I think is a really underrated fighter. But then in the other sense, either was bad in the rematch against Erin Blanchfield. Worse, if you put her in the back, she struggles to get up. She's like a traditional wrestler in that sense. She was subbed by Erin Blanchfield. But in fairness, Erin Blanchfield's a wizard on the ground. But Cortez is going deep. She's fought 5-round fights in the UFC, so she does have cardio. Wang Kong, she's a good striker, stalks her opponents, which is surprising because she's a little flat-footed. She has fast hands, though, accurate, explosive. She likes to get in the pocket and throw down. She has really big power if she connects. She draws a lot of power because she sits on her punches. I mean, her walk-off KO of Victoria Leonardo is freaking fantastic. She will telegraph her shots a little bit because she loads up so much. She mixes punches and kicks together well into her combinations. She has a big kicking game with those high kicks, calf kicks. Not the most defensively sound fighter. She will keep her chin a little high. She'll lack head movement. She's also open to leg kicks. She will try to sneak in a takedown, but she isn't a very good wrestler. That would not be a good strategy against Cortez. She will catch a kick to get the fight to go on that way. She's a poor defensive wrestler, not much of a submission threat. And she was subbed by Gabriela Fernandez, which is a loss that hasn't really aged too well. On the feet, I think Cong has probably the advantage due to her power, speed, explosiveness. But I really don't think we're going to get a distance striking battle. I expect Cortez to close the distance. I actually think Cortez will also nullify the kicks of Wang Kong because Cortez will definitely try to, if you throw a kick at Cortez and you throw it naked like Kong does, Cortez will catch that kick and take it out. And that's what I expect to happen. I expect Cortez to either get to the clinch and take it down or shoot a takedown from distance and get it down. Once she gets it down, I see a huge advantage for Cortez on the ground. I think Cortez dominates once he gets to the ground. I actually think Cortez is going to finish her. I'm going to say Cortez wins by second round submission.
I have nothing to add to the tactical breakdown there. I agree on all points. The only thing I'm going to throw out there, and I do this cautiously, but it's worth looking at the intangibles. Cortez is somebody that whatever is going on for her outside of the cage will sometimes creep into the cage. And if you follow what she's been saying and what she's been doing ahead of this fight, she's relocated her camp to Mexico. She's talked about how that's, she's reinvented her game. She's her best self. When a fighter says that, it's usually very much the case or very much not the case. If Cortez is even the same fighter that lost to Blanchfield, I completely agree with you, Keith, that she has an obvious route to victory and she's the kind of fighter who will take it. If she's disinterested, if she's distracted, this becomes a much more interesting, well, not more interesting, but a much trickier fight, because Cortez is somebody that if she could dominate early and get tired. She's somebody that has a pretty famously difficult weight cut. Like if she's not quite in the same shape that we usually see her in, things get trickier. I could see her dominating the first round and just getting lamped early in the second because every round starts on the feet. It's not enough to push me in the direction of a Wang here. I'm with you. I'm taking Cortez in what, at least as of right now, is a slight upset, but that bears watching, because if Cortez really is a reborn, remade fighter, she still has contender upside in the division. If she's not, again, if she doesn't look like her best self, the potential for an ugly loss is definitely there. But I'm with you. I think Cortez wins this. She wins it with forward pressure, wrestling, the threat of wrestling. You had her by second round submission. That's actually what I had down as well. I'm not going to change it just to be different. So it is unanimous, the slight upset, Tracy Cortez, second round sub. Next up on the UFC 329 prelims is a featherweight matchup between Luke Riley and Kai Kamaka III. Riley, the 27-year-old from Liverpool, is a perfect 13-0 as a professional. He is 2-0 since joining the UFC out of Cage Warriors. He fought most recently back in March at UFC Fight Night Evloev versus Murphy, winning a unanimous decision over Michael Aswell. He will look to make it 3 straight to open his UFC run against Kamaka. The 31-year-old Hawaiian is 18-7-1 overall. He is 2-2-1 across 2 separate stints with the UFC. He is 1-0 since being back. He left the UFC quite a few years ago, spent a good amount of time as, frankly, a mid-card mainstay in both Bellator and PFL, where he made it to the featherweight semifinals a couple of years ago. But he rejoined the UFC this year and got things off to a good start, winning a split decision over Dakota Hope at UFC Fight Night Moicano versus Duncan back in April. Keith, Riley is your favorite here. Take a guess at what the line is.
Well, he's got to be more than minus 200. Minus 220.
Luke Riley, minus 290. Kai Kamaka III, plus 235.
Jeez.
Yeah, tell me how you see this one playing out. And worth asking, since there are 3 undefeated fighters on this undercard, and while Gable Steveson is, the hot new sensation, Riley and Basharat are both fairly proven guys. Like, what kind of upside do you see in Riley? Is this the last time we see him on a prelims?
I don't see him having the same upside as Basharat, and definitely not. I mean, Gable Steveson could be a UFC champion. Like, I'll wait till I go crazy about Gable Steveson in a second, but it's such a tough division. That's what it comes down to, 145. I mean, that's as good as the division as it gets. That 135 to 155, even 170. I mean, going far in those divisions is so freaking tough. And he's got a tough out in this one. But Kai Kamaka is an underrated fighter. I mean, and I think Kai Kamaka is better than his overall record looks. He's looked better recently. He's a well-rounded fighter. He's a counter pressure striker. He wants to march down his foe and throw it out of the pocket. He's got good variety of striking, nice jab. Throws a lot of hard hooks. He targets the body. He has plus power. I like his stepping knees. I like his teep kicks. He will close the distance or work in the clinch. He's a solid wrestler. He shoots, good takedowns from distance. He is a weaker defensive wrestler, but he has great cardio. He's a very good striker. Nice footwork, nice snap on his shots. He really springs into his shots. He's got a good short right hand, good tight left hook. He does good body work. He draws his power in by really setting up his shots. He didn't kick much against Michael Aswell, which surprised me because he has a very good teep kick. He has a lot of calf kicks. He will close the distance and grind a little bit in the clinch. He isn't much of a takedown threat, and he's a bad defensive wrestler. So I like this matchup. I think both guys are good, maybe very good. They're also very similar. I think the line is way off. I do think Riley is the cleaner fighter, so I do think he should be the favorite, but I expected him to be like a minus 140 favorite, something in that range, not so like 3-1. I think that's kind of nuts. Kamaka's got a good jab. His underrated wrestler. He continues to show improvements. I think the fight's much closer than people think. I'm going to say Riley wins, but I'm going to say it's by split decision.
I like that you're clearly higher on Kamaka's skills than the bettors who are driving this line towards 3-1 in favor of Riley. Because I agree with you. He's a well-rounded fighter. He does everything at least pretty well. It is interesting to me. He cuts against at least the old school stereotype of the Hawaiian fighter, because if you're watching this and you're old school enough to remember early 2000s MMA, like BJ Penn was the exception. Like this sensational grappler who also became a very good boxer. Hawaii used to just turn out wild brawlers that thought the floor was lava, and were just pathologically aggressive. Kamaka is a well-rounded fighter that has a lot of times in Bellator and PFL in particular, he lost fights that he could have won just by not stepping on the gas when he could have, and just not steering the fight towards his best advantages. The thing about being a well-rounded fighter is, in most of your matchups, there's some part of the fight where you are better than your opponent. And the difference between a good, well-rounded fighter and a great one is how good they are at I hate this cliche, but imposing their will on their opponent. Kamaka doesn't always do that. I mean, there's still upset value here, but if Kamaka was a little bit more of a go-getter that way, I would be jumping up and down all over this upset value. As it is, I do favor Riley, and like Keith, I favor him by decision. Kamaka is both defensively sound and extremely tough. So even if Riley just turns out to have the much faster hands and just starts lighting him up, I think Kamaka probably makes it to the final horn. But yeah, this line is kind of bananas because it's arguably a step up for Riley over the guys he's fought in the past. And yeah, we could see his first loss come this Saturday. I wouldn't be that shocked, but I'm leaning towards Riley by decision as well. Next up on the UFC 329 undercard is a men's bantamweight matchup between former champ Cody Garbrandt and Adrian Yanez. Garbrandt, who turns 35 as Keith and I are recording this. Happy birthday, Cody Garbrandt. July 7th, turned 35, 15-7 overall, 12-7 in the UFC. He is, of course, the former bantamweight champ, but that is a long, long time ago. He is coming in off a win. He fought at UFC 326 back in March, where he won a unanimous decision over Xiaolong. That snapped a 2-fight losing streak for him. He's going to look to stay in the win column here, show that he has something left to offer this division against Yanez, who is looking to continue his own resurgence. 32-year-old from LaPorte, Texas, just east side of Houston, 17-6-1 overall. 6-3-1 since joining the UFC out of season 4 of Dana White's Contender Series. He's coming in off a draw. He fought at UFC Fight Night Adesanya versus Pfeiffer back in March, where he fought to a majority draw with Ricky Simon that, frankly, to most observers, looked like it should have been a win for Yanez. But before that, he had lost 3 of his last 4 heading in, so to come out with his hand raised at all is some form of progress. He's going to look for a clean win here. He is favored to get it. Keith, take a guess at what the line is in favor of Adrian Yanez.
Minus 350.
Close, but it's even bigger. Adrian Yanez minus 410. Cody Garbrandt plus 320.
Ben, I'm fast passing this one. there's a lot of good fights in this one. I had a hard time finding out which one to fast pass. It just comes down to this dude. I'm just done with Garbrandt. Garbrandt had that all-time performance, maybe the greatest one-night performances in his title win against Dominic Cruz. But like, I'm done with the comeback and like he's relevant. He's not. I think he's completely toast shot. I think Yanez starches him. I want to see Yanez does in the very first round.
It's unanimous. Yanez isn't a perfect fighter at this point. He has some demonstrated flaws, but Garbrandt simply isn't going to test any of them. And the things that he does do play right into what Yanez does best. I got Yanez by first round KO as well. We head next to the heavyweight division on the UFC 329 undercard as Gable Steveson makes his UFC debut against Elisha Ellison. Steveson, the 26-year-old originally from Indiana, best known as coming from Minnesota, of course, 3-0 as a professional. He fought most recently back in February at MFL 3, where he punched out Hugo Lozama in the first round. He gets the call up here, and greeting him will be Ellison. 29-year-old from Eastern Washington, is 5-2 overall. He's 0-1 in the UFC. He made his debut last September at UFC Fight Night Olberg versus Reyes, where he got knocked out in the first round by Brando Pericic. He's looking to get into the win column here. Keith, your favorite is minus 2,800, underdog plus 1,300.
Gable Steveson should be minus 3 million. I mean, guys, I'm going to say this right now. If Gable Steveson takes MMA serious, I've done it 2 times with 2 fighters. I said John Jones and I said Joshua Van. They both won UFC titles. I'm going to do it 3 times. Gable Steveson wins the UFC heavyweight title. I truly believe Gable Steveson right now beats. I don't know. Okay, I like this. Aspinall, Pereira, Gone, Volkov. I'm not sure about Volkov. I'm not sure. I think he beats Hokit right now. Okay, those 3. I'll give you those 3. Gone, Pereira, Aspinall. There might be 1 or 2 I'm forgetting. I truly believe that he could beat all the rest right now. He's an insane athlete. I mean, people think Brock Lesnar was a good athlete. Brock Lesnar is not as good an athlete as Gable Steveson. Gable Steveson, they used to end the wrestling tournaments waiting for Gable Steveson to run across the mat and do some friggin' Simone Biles type backflip. And it wasn't one of these, like, when a guy does a backflip and like they barely cross. I mean, he would get freaking huge height, land perfectly. Obviously, he's learning on the job. You better fight him now instead of 3 years from now. So again, if he takes it serious. But so far, he's doing boxing matches and bare knuckle matches. His hands look pretty good. Again, like, it's got a long way to go, but he's got fast hands. He's got big power. I mean, he does load up a lot. He also drops his hands and he lacks head movement. But if he can clean that up, forget it. Because I'm going to say something that this is going to be a bold statement. Gable Steveson is the greatest wrestler to ever come to MMA. And I'm not talking about Alexander Karelin doing like a one-off match in Pride that was kind of fixed probably. And Gable Steveson, like, I talk about Bo Nickel and say, oh, he could have been to the Olympics if he beat David Taylor, who'd go on to the Olympics. Yeah. Gable Steveson won the Olympics. There's a reason why when Wyatt Hendrickson, who's a real serious contender right now and on the world scene, when he beat Gable Steveson at the NCAA championship, why the whole crowd was going crazy, because it's one of the biggest upsets in the history of the sport. I don't know if Gable Steveson would be the favorite to win the Olympics right now because he hasn't really been very active in freestyle wrestling. but I can guarantee he'd be one of them right now if you had Gable Steveson versus White, and I think White Henderson's special, but if you put White Henderson versus Gable Steveson in a best of 7, I'm taking Gable right now, even with the inexperience. I mean, he's insane entries. I mean, Gable Steveson made heavyweight All-Americans look like amateur wrestlers. He had a match in the NCAA tournament where his opponent got disqualified because he just ran out of bounds against Gable Steveson over and over again, and he got disqualified in the first period by giving up too many after so many points of penalty points. Your opponent will win. I've never seen it happen before in all my years of wrestling. See someone disqualified on that many, and he did it to a guy in the very first period. Insanely fast entries. Incredible top control, mean ground and pound. And I think this, sure, I'm saying he should be fighting, he could fight a top 5 right now, but this is the guys he should be fighting. Let him build up, let him fight Elisha Ellison, who is not really a UFC talent. He got absolutely smoked in his UFC debut. He doesn't have much output. He does have some good snapping shots. He does work the body. He does have power. He likes to work in the clinch with knees, which would be a ridiculously stupid idea to do with Gable Steveson. He's not an offensive wrestler, not that it matters against Gable Steveson. He's not much of a defense wrestler, not that it matters against Gable Steveson. To me, when it comes down to this fight, the only question is does Gable knock him out on the feet or the ground? I think Gable's just gonna take him down and pound him out really quickly. I think he's gonna have a little bit of nerves being his UFC debut. But I think Gable still just freaking shines. Steveson by slaughter, Steveson by first round TKO.
Yeah, I mean, what is there to add to that? But hey, I never found a segment that I couldn't find a few things to pile on top of. The obvious comparison with Gable Steveson is to Brock Lesnar. And there are multiple reasons why it's not a very valid comparison in both directions. Gable Steveson is 10 times the wrestler that Brock Lesnar ever was. I mean, there's a reason Brock only won one NCAA title. He was an absolute
which is an incredible accomplishment.
It is an incredible accomplishment, yeah. but even in college, he was incredibly huge, sure. Very, very good athlete, especially for a guy his size. But if he couldn't get his power double going, he did kind of struggle. There's a reason he needed Stephen Neal to graduate and go to the NFL before he could win an NCAA title. And there was never any.
I don't know if I told you a side note. Sorry to interrupt you, Ben. I ever tell you that my wife used to teach Stephen Neal's kids?
No.
Yes. She first time she ever taught. She taught at a school in Attleboro, Massachusetts, which is literally right over the border, touches Pawtucket. At a thing. What was the name of the school? It was a Christian school. It was part of South Attleboro Assembly God Church. They had a school Dayspring Christian Academy, and that's where a lot of the former Patriot players' kids go. She taught David Patton's kids and Sammy Morris. Don Davis. There was a guy, a linebacker named Don Davis. One or two other guys. Roosevelt Colvin. I have to ask her a couple more, but Stephen Neal's kids was one of them.
That's awesome.
Yeah, there you go. And I met him, and we talked about wrestling, not football, which was awesome. And it actually was when I met him was actually when Brock Lesnar was heavyweight champion. So we were talking about that. That's very cool. But I mean, there was never any serious question of Brock wrestling in the Olympics. Olympic wrestlers would have eaten him alive. He would have done well. But yeah, I'm trying to think who was that top. I mean, that might have been was that around Steve Mako-ish? Maybe no, I think Brock was a little bit before.
He was before. Steve Mako, Cole Conrad, Cain Velasquez all dominated 4 or 5 years after that.
Yeah, I'm trying to think who was the heavyweight. Yeah. 2000. It was after Kurt Angle. It was definitely after Kurt Angle was 96.
Yeah, so that would
Lester would have been 2000.
Sydney. So
Well, Sydney is one Rulon. Isn't Rulon? He won. I know he was Greco, but it didn't.
Yeah, like
Rulon,
that's the year that Rulon won.
So
that's
who's the
the year that Yoel
heavyweight?
Romero won the silver, like got schooled by Adam Saitiev.
I'm trying to think who's the heavyweight.
David Masulbes from Russia.
No, I'm saying who's American representative.
Oh,
was the guy from Penn State? McCoy? No, I think he was a weight class below. I don't think he was a heavyweight.
nope, it was Kerry McCoy. There you go.
It was Kerry McCoy. Okay, yeah. All right. I wasn't sure if it was a heavyweight or if it was one weight class below. Okay. Because he was smaller like that, so
Yeah.
that was fun. we bought a bunch of people. That was fun as hell for me.
Yeah. Everything you said about Steveson's upside as an MMA prospect, I agree with. And in fact, you headed off at the question I was going to ask, like on the understanding that Steveson is going to squash Ellison in 40 seconds. How do you think his striking is right now? And you already kind of talked about that, but you brought up another thing that I'm going to mention here. Another comparison between Steveson and Lesnar is MMA almost feels like Steveson's plan C. Like he wanted to do pro wrestling and had a chance, and it didn't fly. He didn't have Lesnar's outsized personality. He wanted to play football. It never really panned out. Like Lesnar could have.
Lesnar has had the look. Lesnar had the look too. Like he's super jacked, muscle on top of it, and that's. I mean, Gable Steve's obviously extremely, muscle, but he's not built like that.
Yeah. Yeah,
he's built like not Dana Carvey, not as fat, but like he doesn't stand out. If you put a bunch of heavyweights down the line, he's not the one that stands out. You take all the take all the NCAA wrestlers, heavyweight wrestlers, you don't know anything about wrestling. You don't just pick him from look. Brock Lesnar, you would just pick him from look.
Yeah, no, he looks like if you abandoned Cain Velasquez at a tattoo shop for a couple weeks.
Yeah, there you go.
Like not jacked, but extremely fit. But Lesnar. The only reason Lesnar didn't play in the NFL is he didn't want to spend a year in Europe. And considering that he won't even go to Canadian hospitals, I understand why. But, like Lesnar, when he tried out with the Vikings, they measured him. He was like 6'3" and 282 pounds. Steveson isn't that. He's like 6'1" and 245. So you brought up the big question for me. How committed is Gable Steveson to MMA? Is he just doing this because this is something that can get him paid in a way that continuing to wrestle couldn't? Because I'm with you, if he's serious about this, he is probably a future UFC champ. If he's not, if he's just treating this like whatever, I still think he makes slugs his way into top 10 matchups, and then the wheels will fall off. That's all stuff to talk about on the recap. Here, Ellison is a small heavyweight, and while he does hit hard and have pretty fast hands, it's just not going to matter. He'd have to land the punch of his life, and we'd have to learn some things about Steveson's chin that we have no real reason to believe right now. I'll believe that Steveson is chinny when somebody shows me Ellison ain't going to be it. Give me Steveson by first round TKO on the ground, and if there's a prop for under 90 seconds, you might as well take it.
Yeah. It's funny because Gable is the only person I know that he enters MMA. I mean, probably not the only one. There's probably a couple other guys, but he enters MMA, and if he does anything short of winning UFC heavyweight title, his career will be viewed as a disappointment.
Agreed.
Like if he goes undefeated, fights for a UFC title, but loses a split decision, people view him as a bust.
Mm-hmm. And if you ever wonder why Keith and I as well harp on wrestling being the best component skill, the best background skill for MMA, you don't find anybody saying that about the greatest grapplers, the greatest strikers.
That's right. That's right. 100%. A good call.
It's fantastic that Alex Pereira became just the historically amazing fighter that he has. But nobody was saying when he moved over to MMA, oh, if this guy doesn't win a UFC title, he's a bust.
Yeah, absolutely.
Nobody said that about Crone Gracie. Nobody said that about Jacare. Gable Steveson, it's like, okay, yeah, if this guy didn't win a UFC heavyweight title, it's kind of a disappointment.
Yeah.
That's wrestling for you. Next up at UFC 329, and at least as the card is constituted as of the beginning of fight week, the top prelim is a light heavyweight matchup between Robert Whittaker and Nikita Krylov. Whittaker, the 35-year-old New Zealander by way of Australia, is 26-9 overall. He is 17-7 since joining the UFC as the welterweight winner of the Tough Smashes season back in 2012. He is, of course, the former UFC middleweight champ. This will be his light heavyweight debut. He's coming in on a 2-fight losing streak. Fought most recently almost exactly a year ago in the headliner of UFC on ABC 9, where he dropped a split decision to Reinier de Ridder. Prior to that, he had been off for most of a year after his brutal first-round submission loss to Khamzat Chimaev at UFC 308. So Whittaker looking for a new lease on life in a new division. Waiting to greet him will be Krylov. 34-year-old Ukrainian training out of Russia is 31-11 overall. He is 12-9 across 2 separate stints in the UFC, but he's 6-6 since being back. He is coming in off a win. He fought most recently at UFC 324 in January, where he picked up a buzzer-beating TKO of Modestas Bukauskas. That snapped a 2-fight losing streak for him. He will look to start a winning streak here against the former middleweight champ. Keith, your favorite is minus 150, underdog plus 125. Who are they?
Whittaker's favorite.
You're correct. Robert Whittaker minus 150, Nikita Krylov plus 125. I don't know who's going to win this fight, but I know that Robert Whittaker is a maniac. He loses back-to-back fights at middleweight. In both cases, at least partly due to being dwarfed and kind of physically overwhelmed by his opponent. And what's his response? Well, I'm going to move up to 205. And the UFC obliges him by giving him a big 205er in Krylov. Make it make sense, Keith, and tell me who you think wins.
This is a tough fight right off, making your light heavyweight debut for Whittaker. I want Whittaker to be great. Maybe Max Holloway. Like, who's more generally liked than Robert Whittaker? He's well-rounded. You look at his last fight, he's still a good striker. He's more of a technical striker than a power puncher. And I doubt he's going to hit harder moving up to 205. I understand he'll be bigger and add more power. I don't think he's going to be a power puncher at 205. He has he's like a legendary jab. Everything in his offense comes off of it. He likes to double up. He also defends attacks by holding his ground with that jab. He kind of does the same thing with his overhand right. He whips it at his opponents. He also tries timing his opponent's attack with it. He is good at picking up his opponent's timing, and due to having a speed advantage, which I think he will have at 205, he might be even better. Maybe able to pick it up even quicker at 205. I think a perfect example of that is the Ikram Almeida fight. Like, he was timing him pretty quickly, and that win has aged, really, really well. It took him a while, but he ended up doing the same to Paulo Costa midway through their fight. He's really good at changing up his rhythm, so his timing isn't picked up on the other side. He disguises his attacks well. He likes faking to the body, then landing a jab or jabbing around a hook. He does overextend his punches sometimes and lunges, so he is open to be countered. He's a good defensive striker. He likes to slip and rip. He's always moved his head really well. His slip left hook is one of his best punches. He against Almeida, he was getting inside, he was landing hard uppercuts. He's good at misdirection. He'll dart one way and throw a strike on the other side. I always talk about his, my favorite technique of his is his wraparound high kick, a dart to the left and the high kick on the other side. He's been adding those John Jones oblique kicks, hard calf kicks. He does sit on his punch. He does sit on his punches so much, they're very boxing heavy style, so he is open to leg kicks. He likes to work in the clinch despite his lack of size advantage, which will be even worse at 205. He looks for elbows inside. He's a solid wrestler, and he wrestles a lot. He is hard to take down, but his takedown defense isn't as elite as it used to be. Good top game if he's on top, busy ground and pound. Krylov, I mean, he's a good athlete. He moves well with good footwork. He's a big finisher. He's definitely the definition of live by the sword, die by the sword type fighter. He either knocks you out or he's getting knocked out himself. Fast hands. His last fight, he was working the body really well against Bukakis. He will also lunge into his shots, so he also is open to be countered. He eats a lot of shots because he drops his hands. He's a really good kicker. He mixes his striking and his takedowns attacks together well. I'd say he's a solid offensive wrestler, though he's a bad defensive wrestler, but he's a big submission artist. He's got 16 subs in his career. He will lose position chasing a submission. He has better cardio than he looks. He has terrible body language, but his cardio is actually pretty good. When he loses, he gets clocked. It's not because he gassed out. This is a really hard fight to pick. I'm glad that the line is, fairly close. Skill-wise, I think Whittaker is still way better than Krylov. The thing that bothers me is I'm just so worried about the size advantage. Whittaker wasn't a big middleweight. I mean, this guy's a former welterweight. I think both land big shots. I can even see Whittaker having more of the landing more strikes, but Krylov landed the harder strikes. I think Whittaker's going to struggle to get past the kicks of Krylov too. I'm going to say Krylov hurts Whittaker a few times, but doesn't get the finish. I'm going to go with the upset. I'm going to say Krylov wins. Give me Krylov by decision.
Man, this is a tough fight to pick for that very reason. And there are a number of fights on this card that are like this where all I know for sure is that it's not going to be a close fight. This is one of them. We have seen so many times how good Robert Whittaker is at game planning for and then picking apart in the moment strikers with any kind of flaw. He and his team are just very good at watching tape on opponents, introducing new wrinkles based on what they've seen on the tape. And then for the most part, Whittaker is good at following those game plans. He has a little bit of that Robbie Lawler bite down on the mouth guard and just swing back when he gets rung up. It cost him directly in the first Adesanya fight, but even in fights he's won, he's made things more dangerous for himself than he needed to, just with that kind of gutsy warrior instinct. Krylov, he hits hard. He throws a good diversity of strikes. You mentioned he has great, long, powerful kicks. But he has so many holes that it just wouldn't surprise me at all if Whittaker came out and it was kind of like the Alessandro fight where he made him look slow, made him look clumsy, navigated the distance with no problem, and just blew him up with uppercuts and hooks on the inside. That wouldn't surprise me at all. It also wouldn't surprise me if Krylov fought a little bit against type, because he has gotten a little bit more mellow in this run in the UFC and just sort of loomed over Whittaker and made him wear his weight like Reinier de Ridder did. He doesn't even have to just ragdoll him like Chimaev, but just wear Whittaker out by just being there on top of him and just making full use of his size advantage. And just, we learn conclusively that Whittaker has, there's no route to contention for him at 205. I am leaning Whittaker. Krylov he's not the just low IQ maniac that he was in his first UFC run, but his fight management still isn't great, and I'm concerned about his durability. He's always had to take a lot of shots to get in his own offense. He won against Bukowskis, but before that he got blown up in back-to-back fights in the first round by Guskov and Reyes. And while those guys are bigger guys than Whittaker and obviously harder hitters on a shot-for-shot basis, they're nowhere near as nifty as Whittaker is. I think Whittaker beats Krylov, and like I said, only thing I'm really sure about in this fight is it's not going to be a close fight. If I'm wrong about this fight, Whittaker's probably going to get dominated by Krylov. I'm leaning Whittaker, and if I lean Whittaker, I might as well go Whittaker by first round knockout because he's going to have his chances. So give me Whittaker by first round knockout, and it's probably going to be the fight that convinces Whittaker to spend his next 4 fights at 205 to very, very mixed results. The UFC 329 main card powers on with a lightweight matchup between King Green and Terrance McKinney. Green, the 39-year-old Californian, is 35-17-1 with 1 no contest overall. He is 16-12-1 with 1 no contest since joining the UFC out of the acquisition of Strikeforce 15 years ago. He is on a 3-fight win streak, dating back, a little over half a year. He has already fought twice this year. He knocked out Daniel Zellhuber back in February. Then at UFC 328, just 2 months ago, tapped out Jeremy Stephens in the first round. So Green, against all odds, is looking for his first 4-fight win streak since his very first 4 fights in the UFC. I'm not saying it's been a long time, but Bobby King Green's last 4-fight win streak came over Jacob Volkman, James Krause, Pat Healy, and Josh Thompson.
Oh, Pat Healy.
And if right now you're going, wait, Josh Thompson, the guy that did commentary for Bellator, you just made me feel old. Yes. Yeah, Pat. But yes, that James Krause. At any rate, if he wants to make it 4 in a row against all odds as he pushes 40, he's going to need to get past McKinney. 31-year-old from Spokane, Washington, is 18-8 overall. He is 8-5 since joining the UFC as a veteran of Season 3 of Dana White's Contender Series. He's coming in off a win. It took him just 24 seconds to blast Kyle Nelson with a head kick at UFC Fight Night Adesanya versus Pfeiffer back in March. That allowed him to bounce back from his first-round submission loss to Chris Duncan last December. It has been 3 years and 7 or 8 fights since Terrance McKinney went past the first round of a fight. You know what you're getting with this man. Keith, this is a pretty close one on the lines. Your favorite is minus 145, underdog plus 120. Who are they?
God, I don't know. Man, I really don't know who's the favorite. Bobby Green.
It is Terrance McKinney.
Terrance
McKinney minus 145, King Green plus 120. I know I said earlier on this preview that there are a number of fights where all I know is that it's not going to be close. This is the king, unfully intended, of the close fights. Terrance McKinney doesn't know what a second round looks like, and he doesn't know what a close fight looks like either. Like the closest thing he has to a close fight is a 3-minute fight where each guy almost gets finished twice. Like that's McKinney. Keith will sometimes refer to fighters as coming out like they've been shot out of a cannon. They all pale in comparison to Terrance McKinney. It's endearing and just lovable how little regard this guy has for defense, for cardio, for anything other than massacring his opponent with a smile on his face. Like it's never any hard feelings with the guy either. You know, he's always grinning. He's found his niche, and I'm glad for it. I would be jumping all over Green as the upset pick here. And spoiler, I am taking Green, but it would be my upset / lock of the night, except for the fact that McKinney is almost an equal opportunity lightning strike submission artist as he is knockout artist. Like when I say he comes out like he shot from a cannon, he wades right into range, often closes the distance with something flying or spinning, but then is just going to throw a couple of kicks and a flurry of punches. He will sometimes shoot a clean takedown. He's capable of it. He is a good offensive wrestler, but more often he just assumes that he's going to throw, his opponent's going to throw back. They're going to end up in some sort of collision, and he's going to drag it to the ground. Once he gets down there, he has a fast guillotine, he has lightning fast back takes, and he is an outstanding submission grappler offensively. That's the thing about Terrance McKinney. He actually is a very well-rounded offensive fighter who just fights at 2 times speed. It's completely bananas. The problem for McKinney. The reason he's not your lightweight champ right now is, one, if the fight goes past 3 minutes, he is sucking wind hard. And even within those first 3 minutes, he is almost as vulnerable to his opponent's offense as he is potent offensively himself. Like, we've seen him get tapped out early. We've seen him get knocked out early. I mean, Esteban Ribovics knocked him out in like 30 seconds with a head kick. Chris Duncan, who is an underrated grappler, but presents and thinks of himself as a striker, grabbed a front headlock, and I think Anaconda choked him in like 2 minutes. If not for McKinney's grappling being so good, if not for the fact that I could very easily see him doing to Green what Paddy Pimblett did, this would be a lock for Green. I still favor Green. He's still very durable for a guy that's 39 and has going on 55 professional fights. For a guy that's taken as much punishment as he has, he's still pretty durable. He is still pretty defensively sound. Like, he's aging, he's slowing, but he still has better head movement and footwork on the feet than most MMA fighters. And he has a wealth of experience in 3 and even 5 round fights. If I were betting on this, I'd be holding to the edge of my seat for the first 2 minutes, and I'd feel better in a hurry after that. I'm not betting on this fight. I'm not much of a bettor in general, but I do favor Green. And if I favor Green, I might as well favor him to get the finish. Give me Bobby King Green to, in one way or another, survive the first round and just take over for a gassed and all out of ideas McKinney for a TKO early in the second.
Dude, I totally feel the same way about this fight. As you said, like, either Bobby Green's going to smoke McKinney, and McKinney's going to smoke Bobby Green. Or, McKinney could smoke Bobby Green for like 2 minutes and then completely hit a wall, and then Bobby Green takes over. We know what we get with. We've broken down a gazillion Green fights. He's a boxer. He's pretty sharp, good footwork. He fights out of both stances. He baits his opponents by throwing his head out there and keeping his hands low, and using his avoiding those shots and then countering from weird angles. Now, I don't know if baiting out your head out there against Terrance McKinney might be the best strategy, but he has a tremendous jab. He does throw a lot of lead rear punches. He will close the distance quickly, good at being first and third. He can land while backing up. He can throw it out in the pocket. Recently, he's been adding a lot of elbows in close. He's got underrated power. He likes throwing those John Jones oblique kicks. He defensively he'll slip punches and roll punches and just keep his hands low, which is gutsy. I'm not a big fan of rolling punches, though. I always say it's bad. It's a bad look to the judges, though. This fight, if it goes to the judges, Bobby Green won. I think I'm a little more worried about Bobby Green's durability than you are. He has been hurt a lot recently. Mercer Ruffy knocked him dead. He can wrestle, and he's been wrestling a lot more lately. It wasn't smart to wrestle Paddy Pimblett, but against other people, I think it was actually pretty smart of him, and it's going to help his career moving forward. If you take him down, he is hard to take down, and he's even harder to hold down. If he ends up on top, he has good ground pound. We saw him beat the shit out of Jeremy Stevens with ground pound, though that's not saying much. He's a better submission artist than people think. He's got 10 subs on his record. McKinney, southpaw, comes out of the gate like a madman. He likes to strike from distance. He'll stay on the outside, and then suddenly he darts forward. He throws like tomahawk missiles at his opponent, and he might be the pound-for-pound hardest hitter in the game. Not the best technique. He will overthrow his punches. He throws everything hard. He wants to fight, the fight to end immediately. He can make the mistake of throwing his shots from his hips, which leaves him open to be countered. He kicks extremely hard. He has push kicks. He's got a crushing high kick. He'll go flying knee. He will close the distance and land strikes in the clinch. He's a former junior college All-American wrestler, explosive entries, cuts the corners really well, does move to a better position on the ground, good ground and pound. He is a submission artist. He's got 9 subs on his record. I said before, I've called him a front runner. If he doesn't end the fight early, he tends to kind of lose And he usually loses pretty bad. He has gassed out very bad in the past. He also lacks durability. I mean, I've seen him knocked out bad in the past. I go back to like the Esteban Brivich fight where he crushed him with a high kick. And even if he doesn't get knocked out, he's not reacting well to strikes. I mean, and I question his heart. I mean, he quickly tapped to Chris Duncan. So the longer the fight lasts, the more I favor Bobby Green. And I'm so like, I have a lot of question marks about this fight, and that's probably why I'm pretty excited about it. I've always felt like I've never had the best read on Bobby Green. I do favor him if the fight goes deep. The problem is, I'm going to go the opposite. I'm going to say it doesn't go deep. I'm going to say McKinney keeps his run going. I see McKinney blast him early. Give me McKinney by first round TKO.
Next up on the UFC 329 main card is a men's flyweight matchup between Brandon Royval and Lanier Kavanagh. Royval, the 33-year-old Colorado native, is 17-9 overall. He is 7-5 in the UFC. He's lost 2 straight coming into this fight, but in his defense, those losses were against Josh Van at UFC 317 last June, and Manel Kape, whom he faced in the headliner of UFC on ESPN 73 last December. So, coming off back-to-back losses to arguably the top 2 guys in the division, he is now stepping down from contender to meeting maybe the hottest prospect in the division in the form of Kavanagh. 27-year-old Englishman is 10-1 overall. He is 3-1 since joining the UFC out of Season 8 of Dana White's Contender Series. He's coming in off a win. He fought back in February in the headliner of UFC Fight Night 268, where he won a unanimous decision over former champ Brandon Moreno. That allowed him to put his first and thus far only professional loss in the rearview, as he got knocked out in the second round by Charles Johnson last August. Kavanagh is your favorite, Keith. Take a guess at what the line is.
Minus 215.
That's pretty much a bullseye. I've got him at minus 220. Royval plus 180. I mean, if Lanier Kavanagh, who just beat Brandon Moreno, beats Brandon Royval, he's no longer a prospect of any kind, is he? He's a real for real title contender. Tell me if you agree, and tell me who you think wins this one.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I agree with the line, just because we've seen Royval beat some really good fighters. I don't know if Royval should be really that big of a. I mean, look at just his fight against Joshua Van, how competitive that was. I mean, Royval is a very big flyweight. He's long and lanky. He's athletic, southpaw with good footwork. He's very creative. I described before as like a little prime Tony Ferguson, where you don't really know what's coming at you. High volume, uses a lot of feints to set up his shots, works behind a jab, but he reminds me of Ferguson because he loves spinning stuff. He'll throw some spinning back fists, stuff like that. Big kicker, hard calf kicks. His deep kick, it might be the best part of his game. I also like to step in knees. He reminds me of Tony Ferguson because his defense sucks. He drops his hands. He keeps his chin high. He's been cracked by a bunch of fighters. He's taken so much damage. Just look at the damage of the Josh Van fight. Obviously, he was clocked by Manel Kape. He's also starting to not react well to strikes. Now, he can close the distance and grind the clinch. Due to being really big, he clinches and he batters inside with knees. He will look for takedowns, but he's not a strong offensive wrestler. He's more like a scrambler, but he's pretty good at winning scrambles. He's a bad defensive wrestler. I mean, Pantoja took him down with ease. He makes matters worse because he'll jump guillotine. To his credit, he has a wicked good guillotine if he catches it. He has a submission threat. He uses his long arms and flexibility to toss up submission attempts. Kind of reminds me of like a weaker version of Charles Oliveira, where he's opportunistic and scrambles to locks up and in. Kind of just keeps his hips constantly moving. He will play BJJ off his back though, look for subs, which I'm not a fan of. He also throws strikes off his back instead of trying to jump right back up. He has good cardio. Like, he's not going to stop, and he's got tons of heart. Kavanagh, I mean, I'm sold on this kid. I mean, he's a tremendous athlete. He's a fantastic striker. I know we both picked him over Moreno. before it was popular to pick him over Moreno, when a lot of people weren't giving him much of a shot. He's good. It's because he's good. He fights out of both stances. He understands range really well. His output has been inconsistent. Some fights he has insane output. Other times he can kind of cruise. But he's got very fast hands, very explosive, not a lot of tells. He's a counter striker. He does really good to pick up his opponent's speed well. He's got a great left hook. He uses his footwork to set up his angles for his attacks. Does a lot of body work. He hits hard. He'll throw out some spinning attacks, but not like Royval. He'll throw out spinning attacks like in the right time, but he's kind of just feeling himself. Huge kicking game. He likes push kicks, throws hard body kicks. He has some mean calf kicks. He butchered Brandon Moreno with calf kicks. He will catch a kick to get the fight to the ground, but he also can shoot takedowns, though I'd still say he's not a traditional wrestler, but he's good at winning scrambles. Needs to improve his top control, but his takedown defense, it's been inconsistent. His last fight, it looked better. Other times, what I'll say is he looked better, so hopefully he's improving and learning. On the feet, I favor Kavanaugh pretty big. On the ground, I still would favor Royval. The issue is I don't trust Royval's durability. I think Kavanaugh I think he clocks him, hurts him a bunch. I don't think he finishes him, but I think he styles on him. Give me Kavanaugh by decision.
Yeah, I like the breakdown there. And I think I said this when we previewed Royval's fight with Kopp, because I think that's the first time you kind of brought out the comparison of Royval to little Tony Ferguson. I love that one. Even down to the point of thinking of Ferguson's wrestling as overrated is true only if you think of his wrestling as being designed to get clean takedowns. But if you think of his wrestling as just being designed to create chaos and create scrambles, it did exactly what he wanted to do, and he rode that for several years of just massacring everybody. That's what it feels like when Royval initiates wrestling to me as well. And for that reason, guys who either are better wrestlers than him or comparable wrestlers and just more positionally sound grapplers have really shown his limitations there. That's really what happened to him both times he fought Alessandro Pantoja. Like he tried to create madness. Pantoja was like, nope, like I'm going to stop the scramble. I'm going to end up on top and I'm going to win this round. Boom. Royval, I mean, he's still fighting top 5 fighters every time out. This is the first time in like 3 years that he's fighting a guy outside the top 5. It's interesting to me that he's coming into this fight off of 2 losses to Manel Kopp and Josh Van, and then before that, 2 wins over Brandon Moreno and Tatsuro Taira. And the losses, I'm not as down on him for the losses as you might think, and I wasn't as encouraged by the wins. Like both of the wins, like as I went back and watched them, I'm like, these are weird fights. Like in both cases, I was like, why are these guys letting Brandon Royval do this? Like both Taira and Moreno. I think, you know what? I'm just going to skip to the end. You're right. The main problem here is that I don't trust Royval's durability and chin. Like he has all the offensive tools to beat Kavanaugh, pull off the upset, show that he's still at least in the fringes of the title picture. But even at his best, he's always had to take a lot of punishment to get his own offense going. I don't think he can do that anymore. Not against a guy who's as accurate and sharp and as hard hitting as Kavanaugh. And so I think Kavanaugh probably does just blow him up. You picked it to go to decision. I can definitely see that happening. Like it's worth noting that, like Manel Kopp had to land one massive shot to really get the ball rolling downhill. And that's not something that Kavanaugh really does. He really does need to pile up the damage, but I'm thinking he does. I think Royval is going to look just a little slower and a little more shop worn even than we saw him last year. The damage piles up and Kavanaugh gets the TKO in the 3rd round. Next up, and third from the top on the UFC 329 main card, is the first of the 2 high-level rematches here, as it is Corey Sandhagen and Mario Bautista running it back in a repeat of their first meeting back in 2019. Sandhagen, the 34-year-old Colorado native, is 18-6 overall. He is 11-5 in the UFC. He's coming in off a loss. He fought most recently back in October at UFC 320, where he dropped a unanimous decision to Mural Dvalishvili. He will look to get back in the win column here against Bautista. 33-year-old out of Arizona is 17-3 overall. He's 11-3 in the UFC. He's coming in off a win. He fought most recently in the headliner of UFC Fight Night 266 back in February, where he tapped out Vinicius Oliveira in the second round. Keith, your favorite in this fight is -145, underdog +120. Who are they?
Sandhagen. That's a favorite.
You're correct. Sandhagen -145, Bautista +120. As I alluded to, these two fought back in January of 2019. Sandhagen armbarred Bautista in the first round. For what that's worth, both these guys have been through a lot since then, picked up a lot of experience, won some fights, lost some fights. So make of that what you will. Keith, who you got in this one?
So this fight is going to like fly under the radar. It's not going to get a lot of credit being that it's a Conor McGregor fight week, but I mean, this is a really good fight. I understand it's a rematch, but both guys are really good fighters. Sandhagen, it's weird. Some people hate Sandhagen, thinking like he's, he always loses to the top guys, but yeah, the top guys. Like you have to be a top guy to beat Corey Sandhagen, and Bautista on the other hand. I think he's criminally underrated. Sandhagen, I mean, he's a very good athlete, long and lanky guy. He can fight out of both stances. He's all about footwork and elusiveness. He cuts angles really well. He uses a lot of feints instead of his shots. He's got good volume, kind of just touches till there's an opening. Some of the best variety you've seen, constantly attacking with different combinations. He works the body well. He'll throw some step-in knees, big kicking game, great calf kicks. He mixes his striking and takedowns together well. He's a criminally underrated offensive wrestler. I mean, he put a wrestling clinic on against Rob Font. Good at winning scrambles. He's a very good grappler. Decent takedown defense. He is hard to hold down if you do take him down. If he's on top, good ground and pound. He is a submission artist. He has 3 subs on records. Really, when you talk about Sandhagen, yeah, other than his like footwork and his elusiveness, kind of like a Dominic Cruz style guessing. So I guess he's a lead at getting you to guess what he's going to do. But so I was going to say there's nothing like jumps off the page. Great. But on the flip side, there's no weaknesses really in this game. Bautista, he's a really intelligent fighter. I mean, he usually has a very good game plan and just puts himself in position to win. He stalks his opponents and forces them onto the back foot. He knows pressure helps him to win, so he doesn't really care much about eating shots to pressure his opponent. He has good output. He's technically sound using feints and footwork to kind of pressure his opponent, but also keep the distance he wants to be at. He cuts angles well with his footwork. He's got fast hands, nice tight shots, and tight boxing inside. He slips and looks for uppercuts in close, which is fun. I mean, he crushed Patty Mix with a body shot. He has very underrated power, good step in knees, very good kicking game, hard calf kicks. Though he did abandon a little bit against Ricky Simone. He can close the distance and grind his opponent in the clinch. Obviously, Jose Aldo had no answer for him in the clinch, and Bautista still gets hate on that. But that was a good game plan. He's a great wrestler, particularly looks for foot sweeps, which is unique. He gets the fight to the ground, nice top game, great back takes. Big submission artist. He's got 7 subs on his record. His takedown defense, though, has been a little inconsistent. I think this is an incredible fight. I think it's one of the toughest fights to pick on the card. I've flip-flopped. I think both guys are so good. Both are well-rounded. Both are intelligent. I'm glad the line is close. I think it could be even closer. I'm going to say Sandhagen wins. I'm going to say Sandhagen wins by split decision.
I agree with you that this is a tough fight to pick. It's these guys. I mean, I won't say they're underrated because they're both top 10 mainstays for basically like the last 5 years in this division. Like everyone knows they're very good fighters, but a little bit unsung because, especially in Sandhagen's case, he's come up short against the very best of the best of the best, and neither of them has a a real outsized personality, and that is a division where the guys at the top, a lot of them do have outsized personalities. I mean, that's the division of Merab and O'Malley, and before that, people like Cejudo and Dillashaw. Like, it was a star division, and neither of these guys are really stars. I agree with your technical breakdown. I won't bother reiterating it, but it is as good as both of these guys are on the feet. I kind of think it comes down to which guy decides when this fight goes to the ground, or at least decides when they're going to try to bring it to the ground, because both of them are better offensive than defensive wrestlers. And it's not unique, but most MMA fighters are much more effective grapplers when they're on top than when they're on bottom. In a 3-round fight, it really just takes one well-timed takedown to pull a close fight their way. I have the feeling I'm underestimating Bautista's chances in this fight. I could see Bautista really leaning into the calf kicks and getting 1 or 2 well-timed takedowns to win 2 rounds out of 3. But I am going to go with the slight favorite as well. Give me Sandhagen by decision, but yeah, no confidence in this. It feels like a coin flip fight to me. That brings us to the co-main event of UFC 329, a lightweight contenders match between Benoit Saint-Denis and Paddy Pimblett. Saint-Denis, the 30-year-old Frenchman, is 17-3 with 1 no contest overall. He is 8-3 in the UFC, 8-2 at lightweight. He, of course, made his debut as a short-notice COVID-era replacement, up a weight class, and took an absolute slaughter at the hands and feet of Eliseu Capoeira dos Santos. Since then, in his proper weight division, 8-2, and he is on a 4-fight win streak since his back-to-back losses in 2024. He's already fought once this year. It was at UFC 325 back in January, where he piled up the damage and put away Dan Hooker late in the 2nd round. He is looking for his 5th straight win here to insert himself at least into the fringes of the title picture against a gentleman that is looking to do much the same in the form of Pimblett. 31-year-old from Liverpool is 23-4 overall. He is 7-1 since joining the UFC as the former lightweight and featherweight champ in Cage Warriors. He won his first 7 fights in the UFC, with a few scares along the way, before running into Justin Gaethje at UFC 324 in January. He came out on the wrong end of a 5-round decision there. Star power undimmed, but definitely has some work to do to get back into the title discussion. Keith, line is a close one. Your favorite is -135, underdog +115. Who are they?
I'm going to say Paddy's favorite.
It's actually Saint-Denis. Benoit Saint-Denis, -135, Paddy Pimblett +115. This feels like a 2 true outcomes fight to me. Like, Benoit Saint-Denis is not a bad offensive grappler, but he's shown vulnerabilities on the ground in his grappling. Pimblett is a very willing striker, but I mean, we saw him get busted up bad by Justin Gaethje, and that has aged well now that Gaethje is your UFC lightweight champ. But having said that, a lot of UFC lightweights watched that fight and started taking notes. Like, I could do that to Paddy Pimblett. Like, Paddy Pimblett in the course of winning his first 7 fights in the UFC, the people clamoring to fight him, it never died out, because even when he won his fights, people were like, oh, well, I would have knocked him out right there. Nobody did. But I feel as though if they hang around on the feet, as they hang around on the feet, the chances that Saint-Denis hurts Pimblett really bad just approach 100%. If the fight goes to the ground in the time, place, and position of Pimblett's choosing, I think he makes quick work of Saint-Denis. Like, if Saint-Denis takes Pimblett down, like either like shoots a rare takedown or just ends up on top in the scramble, I think he's okay. Like, Pimblett, like most MMA grapplers, is less effective off his back, and Saint-Denis can throw some heavy ground and pound that just gives Pimblett one more thing to think about. So it does feel like, if not a two true outcomes fight, just one where each guy has obvious routes to victory that are obvious to the opponents as well. So it's kind of who dictates the fight, who dictates the place, the range, the pace. I give that to Pimblett. His goofball, cocky persona aside, his madness seems to work in the cage. Whereas Saint-Denis, we've seen him lose fights where he had obvious routes to victory, and even fights where he was winning. Like, he was beating Dustin Poirier. And if he'd beaten Dustin Poirier 2 years ago, he probably would have fought for a title by now. Yeah. Two guys that are gifted but have deficiencies. Give me Pimblett over Saint-Denis. At some point in this fight, probably within the first 7 or 8 minutes, they're going to end up on the ground with Pimblett either on top or in a neutral enough position with time to work, and he's going to find a way to choke out Saint-Denis. Give me Pimblett by second round submission.
Yeah, I mean, this is a really intriguing matchup. Paddy Pimblett, I mean, I don't know how I feel about this guy. I mean, after the Gaethje fight, I thought that he was a bum. Like, it's funny. He ended the UFC, and I wasn't very high on him. And then he started looking really good. I'm like, oh, man, he might be underrated somehow, like, because people hate on him. And then he fought Gaethje, and I thought he was a bum. And then I'm sitting there now thinking, well, that loss ain't looking so bad after the Gaethje's performance against Poirier. So Paddy's he's a better athlete than he looks, and what I love that he truly believes in himself. He's a massive lightweight. He uses a lot of footwork, kind of flows. I'm not sure about his striking. It looks pretty good in some fights, and then it looks really bad against Gaethje. He was throwing a lot of arm punches, but not much power behind him. He is best when he keeps his distance, using those long arms. But he also needs to kind of stalk his opponents. He hated when he was pressured back against Gaethje. He just backs right up against the cage. He has some power. He didn't show it against Gaethje, but he does have some power. His defense is bad, though. He drops his hands. He doesn't move his head. He doesn't tuck his chin. In fairness, he did show a hell of a chin against Gaethje. I mean, Gaethje landed some big shots. When Paddy is inside, he looks for uppercuts. Kicks are probably the best part of his striking game. He uses kicks to keep his distance, hard body kicks, nice calf kicks, a lot of calf kicks. He likes question mark kicks. He'll throw a flying knee. He murdered Michael Chandler with stepping knees, but in fairness, Michael Chandler's shot. He can close the distance and grind the clinch. He likes body lock takedowns and trips. His wrestling isn't bad. He definitely is more of a BJJ grappler than a wrestler, but he's pretty good in scrambles. He is a bad defensive wrestler, especially because he'll jump a guillotine or even pull guard. Yeah, if he's on top, I like his ground and pound. His ground pound against Michael Chandler was one of the meanest I've seen. But off his back, he's very flexible. He's a submission threat. He got that triangle choke against Bobby Green recently. He has tons of subs on his record. He chains sub attempts together really well. And yeah, he got beat up at Gaethje, but his cardio was good. Saint-Denis, he's southpaw. He moves really well, good footwork, good output on the feet. He likes to kind of press the action towards his opponent. He's got quick hands. He's explosive. He throws a lot of like rear punches, similar to Bobby Green. I'd say underrated power. Let me just ask Beneil Dariush. Big kicking game. I got a great high kick. He perfectly timed Matt Verla with a high kick when he was trying to escape from the grasp of Saint-Denis. He is a little too hittable for my liking. He keeps his chin high. He was hurt to the body by Dan Hooker. He doesn't move his head enough. He is tough as hell, though. I mean, he survived an all-time beating against Moicano, against going way back against Zaleski dos Santos. Dustin Poirier knocked him out, though, so obviously it's not perfect. And Poirier knocked him out when it wasn't even in the airport when he did it. So He likes to close the distance and use his strength in the clinch. He's a very physically strong guy. He has that judo background. He's a good wrestler. He loves upper body takedowns. He also shoots takedowns from distance. He was just kind of bull rushing Dan Hooker down. I think he's a very good grappler, good topside grappler. He likes to, pin his opponent against the canvas and slowly work. He is a very good submission artist. He will jump for a sub instead of just trying to secure a takedown sometimes in scrambles. He's got busy ground pound, and he is physically hard to sub too. So I don't have a good read on this fight. Like, you seem like you have a much better read. I think I don't have a good read on either guy, especially Pimblett. I'm going the opposite though. I'm leaning towards Saint Denis. I think he has the power advantage on the feet. I actually think he might be the better offensive wrestler. It's really close though. I really hope we get grappling between these two. I think that'd be really fun. I think this fight. I think we have some back and forth moments. I think we have a little bit of a war on our hands. Give me Saint Denis by decision.
With that, we come to the main event of UFC 329, a rematch 13 years in the making between a couple of former champs in Conor McGregor and Max Holloway. McGregor, the 37-year-old Irishman who will actually turn 38 a couple of days after UFC 329, is 22-6 overall. He is 10-4 since joining the UFC as the former Cage Warriors featherweight and lightweight champ. He is, of course, the former featherweight and lightweight champ in the UFC as well, the UFC's first ever simultaneous two-division champ. He is 1-1 at welterweight, with both of those fights coming against Nate Diaz at this point almost exactly a decade ago. So it's been a while since McGregor has fought, period, almost exactly 5 years. It has been a long time since McGregor won a fight, that is 6.5 years, and it has been basically a full decade since he fought at 170 pounds. Nonetheless, here he is headlining against a guy who has been much busier in his absence, Holloway. 34-year-old Hawaiian is 27-9 overall. He is 23-9 in the UFC. He is 5-3 since the last time Conor fought. He is 6-4 since the last time Conor won. He is coming in off a loss, however. He fought most recently back in March at UFC 326, where he dropped a 5-round unanimous decision to Charles Oliveira. It was frankly a dominant performance by Oliveira, even if it probably put an end to the BMF as a lineal belt, as it was not a very BMF performance. But Holloway back against McGregor here. He is your favorite, Keith. Take a guess at what the line is.
Yeah, this one I actually know, or somewhat know, because when the fight was first announced and the line came out, I don't know, I saw it somewhere. Luke Thomas said or something like Max Holloway's a huge favorite. He's like -400 or something like that.
He opened as a pretty big favorite. It has shrunk. He is now -225. McGregor +185.
Wow. Jeez. Okay.
I mean, if you're a longtime viewer of the Shillen and Duffy show, you know that there are certain times when I will go first with my pick after introducing the fighters. Cases where I'll do that are where I'm picking a pretty big upset and I want to make sure that I get out with it first so it doesn't look like I'm copying Keith. There'll be times that I have a particular insight because I know the fighter or I've seen a lot of their fights, in person. There are times when I'll hand them to Keith first. That will certainly include when one of the fighters has not been in the cage in 5 years. Keith, tell me who wins this fight.
Yeah, this fight. I mean, I'm definitely intrigued. I'm always excited to see Conor McGregor. I mean, see what you want about McGregor. Obviously, the biggest star in the history of the sport. He's going to bring in eyeballs. And it's funny because there's like a kid. I've known him literally his entire life. When I moved into the house I live right now, he lives like diagonal, but all our neighbors were very close friends. And he was in diapers. I mean, he was an infant when I first moved in. Like, he was months old. And he asked me the other day about the Conor McGregor fight. And I was sitting there and I was, talking about it. And like, oh, yeah, he's bringing in like a casual, like him. He watched the White House card and stuff like that. And he never really asked me about fights. And I sat there and I go, wait a minute. Has he even seen McGregor fight live? Like, he's 17. McGregor hasn't fought, what did you say, 4 years?
He hasn't fought at all in 5 years. Almost
5
exactly.
years?
It'll be 5 years and a day since UFC 264, where his leg fell apart. And so the last time we really saw Conor McGregor fight, like almost 6 years.
Yeah. So 6 years, like, this kid's, he's going into his senior year of high school. Like, he's going into his senior, he wasn't even in high school last time Conor McGregor fought. He was yeah. I'm like, dude, this kid was like in junior high, he's about to go to college soon. I mean, how do you evaluate McGregor's skill considering we hadn't seen him fight in 5 years? You mentioned he hasn't won in almost 7 years. Add in that we know he likes to party. I mean, he likes to hit the old vitamin C. He's coming off a extremely serious injury. I mean, say what you want, but I mean, who else has suffered that kind of injury? Anderson Silva, Chris Weidman.
And
those guys
were
in.
He's made movies where he visibly jacked himself up to what looked like 195 pounds.
Oh yeah, that's another point.
Like you see him in Roadhouse, he looks like a fucking tank.
Sure. Yeah. He's drastically changed his body and trying to get back. Like he can't fight at 155. I'd be like, oh, it's advantage for him fighting at 170. Like, well, there's no way possible Conor McGregor was going to fight at 155 again. But like, I go back to like the injury, like Anderson Silva, Chris Weidman. I mean, there's one or two other guys, I'm sure, but they suffered a very similar injury and was never an elite fighter again.
Never.
And I just look up, McGregor turns 38 years old next week. How do you evaluate something like that? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm going off of memory of the glory days. In the past, he's one of the greatest strikers in the history of sport. I mean, if I was doing this, I'm not doing it, but maybe we can do it on the recap show. If I was making a Mount, I mean, all right, I'll do it real quick. If you're doing a Mount Rushmore of strikers, just striking, wouldn't McGregor be on the list? I mean, the guys that we lock in is Silva, Alex Pereira. I think easy.
Like in his prime, the McGregor that knocked out Jose Aldo, that knocked out Eddie Alvarez.
Oh God, Eddie Alvarez performed. Yeah. I mean, you'd have to put Anderson Silva on there, obviously, and Alex Pereira would have to be on there, and I think Izzy would have to be on there. I mean, who are you taking over Conor? I'm probably putting Conor on the list. I mean, there might be something I'm not thinking of, but it's
if we're forgetting someone obvious, put it in the comments.
Sure, and I'm doing this like right off the cuff. It's almost midnight, and I'm just throwing this out there. So there's probably someone I'm forgetting, but I mean, he's a southpaw. In his, again, I'll go by his prime. I'm just assuming best McGregor shows up. He was so good at finding his range early in the fight. That was one thing that always stood out to me. He found his range almost me. I mean, the perfect example, obviously, what he is counter punch against Jose Aldo. Great precision, great vision. He sees everything coming at him. When he avoids strikes, he keeps his eyes glued on the target to counter. He's so good at slipping a punch, taking his head just off the center line, then landing one of his own, crushing power shots. Obviously, the feedback left hand against Jose Aldo is the first one that comes to mind. And the dude can absolutely crack at 170. Obviously, he has even more muscle. He was, hurting a prime Nate Diaz, not the Nate Diaz who's fighting Mike Perry now and stuff. But I mean, he at 170, he was cracking a prime or prime-ish, I should say, Nate Diaz. He likes to reach and distract a lot with his right hand to set up his left hand. He likes to throw in the right hand to the body to distract, and then he comes over the top of the left hand. But he does do good body work. His most success against Habib was in the third round with body shots. Same thing against Chad Mendes. I mean, he slowed Chad Mendes down with body shots. I know the argument is, Mendes came off the couch and it was 10 days, whatever, but still, like, he was smart enough to work Mendes' body. He can kick too. We saw that in the second fight against Diaz. He high kicked Donald Cerrone in that fight. He teep kicked Chad Mendes. But the question is, does he kick at his first fight after that injury? McGregor likes to work in space. Diaz had success in both the first and the second fight by pressuring McGregor back. Poirier had success in the second fight by pressuring him back. He does drop his right hand and throw a jab and drop it back to his waist. So there's times you can counter in there. He is open to counter, especially a high kick on that side. He stopped the calf kicks because he's so. He's. Let me back up. Sorry, he gets his legs kicked a lot by calf kicks because he's so heavy in that lead leg and that wide open stance, very unique stance. I was surprised how well McGregor was doing in the clinch, especially with shoulder strikes. Like that's like a new tool of his. I mean, he saw him do it against Cerrone. Even in the fight he lost against Poirier, he was doing well with I know he lost twice. It was shoulder strikes. He only used his offensive wrestling against Holloway in that first fight like a decade. How long was it ago? 10 years ago?
13 years
sorry, geez, I'm way off. 13 years ago. So I doubt he's going to wrestle him. And not to mention Holloway's takedown defense against Oliveira has been pretty good. He isn't a strong defensive wrestler. I mean, Mendez took him down. Habib took him down. Not that I doubt Holloway wrestles him. But to his credit, like Habib had to work to get him down. It wasn't easy. Cardio was an issue in the first fight against Diaz, and I doubt it's going to be better at 38. You definitely have to worry about his chin. I mean, it used to be legendary, but obviously Mayweather knocked him out. Habib dropped him. Poirier knocked him out in the second fight. Poirier hurt him again. Obviously, the leg was hurting him in the third fight. And I doubt his reflexes will be better at 38. Now, he's getting Max Holloway. And earlier I said, is Robert Whittaker like the most likable guy in MMA? No, it's probably Max Holloway. I mean, who isn't a fan of Max Holloway? I mean, he's the most liked fighter in the history of the sport. He's a long, lanky fighter. He has tremendous output. When I think of builders, Holloway is the first guy I think of. I mean, he's constantly marching down his foe. I described him before as like a 1700s general trying to win a battle. He's one of the best boxers in the history of the sport. Oh shit, you might throw him on that Mount Rushmore now that I think of it. But and Jose Aldo could be on that list too. But Aldo getting knocked out by Conor might automatically have to forfeit that. But
and twice by Holloway.
And twice by he's kind of like past his prime. But still, going back to I don't want to go off topic. Holloway's one of the best strikers in the history. I mean, the clip of him against Calvin Kattar, to me, I said it before, should be like taken and put in the Smithsonian. It's that special. He flows between stands so well. It's got a tremendous jab. He follows at the end of the pocket and he does damage with hand speed and accuracy. I mean, great accuracy, especially if he's picked up his opponent's rhythm. Holloway, when he finds his range and he finds his timing, it's like Neo in the Matrix. I mean, I've said it before. He's like Mozart painting playing the piano, or Michelangelo painting a picture or something. I mean, he's the master. I mean, he's good at throwing combinations, and when he's throwing combinations, that's when you know his opponent's in big trouble. That's when he's feeling himself. He has so much variety. He's constantly adding new attacks. He loves to land combos and then instantly change his stance and attack from the other side to get his opponents guessing. His rear punch in either stance is a thing of beauty. He works the body well. Go back to like the Arnold Allen fight. He just crushed him with body shots. He just touches and he explodes when there's an opening. The knock on him has been that he doesn't have power. Well, ask Justin Gaethje about his power. Ask the Korean Zombie about his power. He started adding a lot of kicks against Arnold Allen. He crushed Justin Gaethje with a spinning wheel kick. One negative I will say is he used to have this legendary chin, and that's starting to crack. I mean, we saw him obviously get knocked out by Ilia Topuria. We saw him drop to Justin Gaethje. Even everyone remembers Charles Oliveira wrestling him. Charles Oliveira at one point cracked him too. Alex Volkan actually showed you can beat him with a lot of kicks to the thighs. He never looks so offensive wrestler, and he usually was always hard to take down, though Charles Oliveira just take him into a takedown dummy. And worse, that he was always used to be able to pop right back up, but that wasn't the case against Charles Oliveira. But, not being able to get Charles Oliveira off you is not a knock. in fact, you actually make it as a compliment that Oliveira wasn't able to submit him, which is really good.
They literally gave Holloway his black belt after that fight.
There you go. So yeah, I guess that's the silver lining to that. He has so much heart. I mean, he's been through beatings, wars against Poirier, wars against Volkanovski, and just keeps battling. I mean, he's got legendary cardio. He's not going to guess. Somehow it might even be better at 170. Dude did not have to cut weight. And the dude has balls of steel. What I'm hoping for, and I doubt this happens, I doubt the fight goes very deep. I mean, think about the second he had the balls of steel to give Gaethje a chance to throw down the center after he was clearly winning. It would be nuts to do that against Conor because Conor hits even harder than Gaethje. You know, if Conor is the same as he was a prime Conor, but you know Max Holloway will do that. like it's even more like, oh, he hits even harder. I'll give you more of a chance. So I know I've been talking for a really long time. I mean, prediction, seeing Max now, like the current Max, or even like Max from like a year ago, you know what? The Max who knocked out Justin Gaethje, you take that time, however that was, a year ago, year and a half ago, whatever it was. Give me that Max against the Conor that knocked out Eddie Alvarez. I think that would have been freaking nuts. But I doubt we get anything close to the best McGregor. I mean, I can't imagine that happen. I can't imagine him being the same. I hope he is. I mean, I really do. I hope he's this phenomenal, incredible striker. I know you have some issues with the and I really didn't follow his personal life too much. I honestly didn't think he was ever coming back. But the peak of Conor McGregor might be the best time in MMA. But when you had him and Ronda, and Jones and all these guys at the same time, that was incredible. I missed that.
Oh yeah.
But what'd you say?
No, I said, oh yeah. I was just agreeing.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, it was incredible. It was absolutely incredible. That said, I not even mentioned this fight is 5 rounds. I mean, you could almost basically bank if the fight goes to the 4th, 5th round. Those are already like in Holloway's camp. Like Holloway has those ones. Like there's no way. I mean, Conor had cardio issues back in the day. What's going to happen? I feel like Conor really needs a knockout. I mean, I really feel he almost has just a puncher's chance. And I just don't see that happen. I think Max absolutely styles on Conor. I see him boxing Conor's ears off. I expect him to force Conor to try to counter, but I think Conor's forced onto his back foot for the majority of the fight. I expect Conor just slowly marching him down. I see Conor get marched down and Max just teeing off on him. I think Max finishes him with strikes. I was thinking second round. I'm going to go third round. I see Max finish him with he starts feeling himself. He just picks up the pace. Holloway third round. And honestly, I'm so confident that this line ain't big enough. I'm making this. I thought 400 might not have been big enough. Now you're saying it's what, minus 225, and maybe this week, you know, Conor gets in the press conference saying ridiculous stuff. It might even close even more. Holloway, I'm locking this is my lock of the night.
Yeah, I love the breakdown there. I won't take too much of you folks' time. Keith did a fantastic technical breakdown of this fight. Just a couple of things I wanted to throw out there. It's been interesting to watch Holloway's subtle development over the years. Like the Holloway that was like thrashing people at featherweight, say 8 or 9 years ago, that was, I mean, it's still a thing of beauty now, but at the time, I think what I used to say was, like, when he gets flowing, he renders the concept of stances almost irrelevant, because once he really started rolling downhill on somebody, he would just start throwing these long 6, 7 punch combinations with kicks interspersed in the middle and just disguising stance changes behind his kicks. So he's just moving forward constantly. And it just looked like his opponent getting run over by like a combine harvester or like a big industrial lawnmower. The knock against him, for what little knock there was that he didn't have a ton of one-shot power. Well, at this point, you know, he's knocked out Gaethje and Korean Zombie with single shots. he's older. He sits down and his punches a little more. I agree with Keith that Conor's only real route to victory here is to catch Holloway with a huge shot and hope that his own power has carried over to 170 pounds the way it showed out at 145 and 155, and hope that Holloway's durability has slipped to the point where that one shot is enough to either knock him out or compromise him enough that McGregor can jump on him and finish. Because otherwise, yeah, what's he going to do? It takes, like, you look at the people that have beaten Holloway, or even the people that have kind of stood in there with him and given him a good fight. There's nobody coming off injuries and years of ring rust. Like, Holloway is such a force of nature. Things like timing, cardio, the ability to deal with pressure, just the idea that Conor can come off of 5 years of like steroids, cocaine, and sexual assault and stand in there with, maybe the greatest pure boxer MMA has ever seen is just absolutely absurd.
Yeah, not happening.
And it's a shame because Conor, for whatever problems I have with him as a person, at one point, I don't know if he'd make it to my Mount Rushmore, but he's absolutely one of the 3 or 4 most beautiful strikers you ever saw. And there was development to his game over the years as well, because for as incredibly dexterous and fast and fluid as his kicks are, up until his last 5 or 6 fights, he mostly used his kicks to kind of herd his opponent into his punches. It was really in his last couple of big wins that he started really, really hurting people with his kicks. It's just like almost like he had like a second sword that he was just using to cut butter and spread it on his toast. And then all of a sudden he started using it as a sword. It's a shame we didn't get to see more of that before kind of his outside the cage distractions got the best of him. I expect Holloway to blister McGregor. If McGregor puts up a fight, if he hurts Holloway, if Holloway is busted up and down 2 rounds going into the third and actually has to dig deep and do Max Holloway things to win, that will make me angrier than ever at what might have been if Conor McGregor had not been such a fucking asshole. But I don't think we get there. I'm with Keith, and I had on my notes the exact same thing. Holloway by 3rd round, TKO, and it's my lock of the night as well. And that's it. The Sherdog Radio Network preview for UFC 329, McGregor versus Holloway 2. I have been Ben. He has been Keith. If this is your first time watching or listening to one of our previews, thank you. We hope you enjoyed it. We do our best to bring you a mix of in-depth analysis and occasional humorous asides that we think is pretty unique in this space. Please do like, subscribe. Neither of those things cost you a thing. They make our bosses happy. They allow us to keep bringing you this content free of charge. Please drop us a comment. Keith and I both man the comment section. We'd love to hear your take on these fights. We both picked a ton of upsets, including 2 unanimous upsets. Our batting average on the unanimous upset picks is quite good, but if you think we left any money on the table, let us know. Because if you're right and we're wrong, we will be happy to give you your flowers. You just need to come collect them. We are live on the Sherdog YouTube page right after the main event. Keith takes the captain's chair. We will talk about all 14 of these fights in reverse order, from the headliner on down to the curtain jerker, talking about what was good, what was bad, what was surprising, what was controversial. There's always something. Talking about what's next for some of the notable winners as well as losers, and talking with you. The live chat is open that whole time, so we are taking your questions, your comments, and your hot takes in real time. We have a growing community of friends that hang out with us after the fights, and we would love for you to be part of it. Between now and then, thank you once again for listening. Enjoy the rest of your week, and by all means, enjoy these fights.